Many years ago, when I was a foster parent, my foster daughter and I had a big argument one night. She stormed off to her room and I got ready for bed, telling myself the entire time that I was in the right. As I got ready for bed, I started looking for my dog, who normally was Velcro to my heel and followed me from room to room. I knew she was in the house, but I couldn't figure out why she wasn't following me like she normally did. I found her when I stuck my head into my daughter's room to say goodnight. My dog was curled up on the other side of my daughter, who had her back to me and was not speaking to me. I said goodnight and then called to my dog, who raised her head, looked at me, sighed, and turned her back. She curled up and stayed in the room. That incident stuck with me as I realized that whatever had happened that night, my dog thought that my daughter was in more pain and needed her more. I realized then, and I've remembered through the years, that our children need to know that we will be there for them even when they are being obnoxious, even when we disagree with them. And to know that, like my dog, we can recognize when they're in pain and stick with them. One of the most difficult parts of being a foster parent or a step parent is carrying through on that commitment and making it a one-way commitment and being there for them regardless of how they treat us or what attitude they're having that day. Now, one way doesn't mean unlimited, because every healthy relationship has boundaries, and our commitments also have to have boundaries. We'll discuss that in another video. But for now, the important thing is to realize that we have to have our commitment be solid, regardless of how we're treated. That can be particularly difficult with a child who doesn't like us, doesn't want us there, or doesn't want to be in our home. We have to have the attitude that we're just sort of like the law of gravity. It exists and it's there, no matter how they react to it and no matter how they respond. The other important thing about making our commitments one way is to recognize that we can't expect gratitude. Children, even non-traumatized children, will not be grateful to us. They take for granted a lot of things that we do in our lives. And in fact, up to a point, they're supposed to take us for granted. If children worry too much about who's going to pay the electricity or whether or not there's going to be food in the house, we tend to call that neglect and an adverse childhood experience. So to some extent, they should be oblivious to the work that we do. On another level, their brains are simply not developed enough to understand all of the work that goes into making their world happen. And expecting them to be grateful to us is a bit like expecting them to fly. So we have to be there for them regardless of that, without expecting anything or without conditioning our commitment on anything that they respond to or any particular way that they respond to us. One-way commitments are heavy lifting and they're incredibly difficult, but we cannot build a relationship with our children without them.